And then I had the most wonderful surprise. I had a person at the door of my building, upset and cursing. It was my wife, and she left a bag at the entryway right by the reception area. Sometimes when we get to our house, we want to see a big guard lying down in our bed. He had his little life, his social life, and no one knew. I didn't know he stayed with a man who was married and could stay away from home for months. And then I had the most amazing surprise. I was at the door of my building, and the wife of the man I had met on the app was there, cursing. She left a bag at the reception area. Sometimes when we get to our house, we want to see a big guard lying in our bed. He had his little life, social, and no one knew. I didn't know he was married to a man and could stay away from home for months. Imagine finding out your husband is married and that you have a wife. I'm laughing because you can't imagine. How did he find Jonathan? How old are you? I'm 27. You were married, but you were married to a married man. This is exactly how it happened. He was married to a man and he was with Mueller. You believe there's worse, I believe. How did all this begin, Jonathan? So I'm not imagine you find out your husband is married. I'm nervous because you can't imagine what he found out. How old are you? I'm 27. You were married, but you were actually married to a married man. He was married to a man or with a man. You believe it's worse than I believe. How did all this begin, Jonathan? I'm not sure. I'm from Eastern El, Natural de Alagoas, and I've lived in Sao Paulo for 6 years. During these 6 years, I was involved with someone for 3 years. It was complicated, but a beautiful day. After work, I went to 25 to find a lady. I bought perfume and then I found a very charming, very beautiful, very educated security guard. We exchanged glances and life continued. Right, obviously. Then I entered the app so that I met someone from Eastern El Natural de Alagoas on WhatsApp. We started chatting and it was complicated at first, but it turned out to be a beautiful day. I went to 25 YM to find a lady and I bought perfumes. Then I met a very charming, very beautiful, and very educated security guard. We exchanged looks and life continued. I entered the app and the mask was yellow. I knew it was a gay pesting app. I entered the app and someone was sending me several messages. There was no picture and the person was sending messages. Then he said, my name is, I will give a name here, okay? My name is Wesley, but that name is false. My name is Wessel and I came here to the store. I liked you. I want to talk. I said, the yellow mask is a bit naughty, isn't it? I know Grindr is a gay pestering app. I entered the app and someone was sending me several messages. Only that. There was no picture. The person was sending messages and then he said, my name is Wesley, but that name is false. My name is Wessel and I came here to the store. I liked you. I want to talk and I said, okay, we talk. We exchanged messages for a few days. We stopped having contact. It was insisting, not here. You exchanged the Instagram, not Instagram. First moment, not. Oh, you are just exchanging contacts so that he was in the app filling me the bag. And there with chat goes chat come. I gave my WhatsApp. I got it and in that baby he said, I wanted to be with you. How do you stay with me? That was single a while ago and such and I had like me. You know, we started communicating and it was really nice. Then out of nowhere he started insisting that he wasn't going to be there. You know how it is, we swapped Instagram usernames and then he started asking me to chat on WhatsApp. I gave him my number and we started chatting. He said he wanted to be with me and I said I wanted to be with him too. It had been a while since I was single and I was ready for a change. I guess you could say I'm a bit of a romantic. He was handsome and charming and I sent him a photo of me. I saw that he was quite tall, around 6 feet 2 inches. I'm also tall, about 5 feet 10 inches, so I thought he was even taller. He turned out to be right and he was quite big too. Today I looked at his pictures and he's got some really bad ones. They're the most naughty ones. I know these things are naughty, but I'm a dating expert. I saw the security guard right away. Big Grando is around 1.90 m tall, and I'm also tall, around 1.80 m. So a man being tall has to be taller than me and very big, right? And he is. Today, looking at his pictures, he's clearly taller than me. These are the most naughty ones, that have the inputs are more naughty. Well then, in your conversation he said, I am clearly single. And we started talking. I don't care if he's single, but I don't have much interest. I had just left of dating and I was in the piranha phase. I know, but he was affectionate, gentle, and I said, okay, I'll find this guy. Total error. I found he talked and we stayed the first time, and the more they have, the more they want. He said he was single and then we started talking. I didn't mind, but I wasn't interested. I had just left a relationship and I was in the piranha phase. I knew that, but he was affectionate, gentle, and I said, okay, I'll give this guy a chance. I found that he was a very good conversationalist and we stayed the first night. We didn't do anything crazy, but we didn't take things slow either. It was an easy conversation and he didn't want to commit because he didn't want to be tied down. He was open about his life, his parents, and his goals for the future. I know a lot about dating. He didn't roll at first, but he didn't take the bait. It wasn't until the second time that he came to my apartment that we got intimate. He was quite skilled in the boudoir, and I found myself yearning for more. I was eager to explore, driven by a desire to find what would make us happy together. We met in Sao Paulo and I was pleasantly surprised by how much I liked the places I knew. We spent the first 2 nights at my apartment and I quickly fell in love with him. He was an excellent kisser and I was eager to explore more. I was ready to take things slow, but he was eager to move forward. We spent about 3 meetings getting to know each other, and in the 4th he shared that he had dated a girl and had a daughter. I said, okay. And he replied, you have a problem with that? I said, no, you have a good relationship with your daughter. We chatted for a while and it was nice. We didn't talk about being single or anything like that. We kept it light and it was all good. Then, in the 4th meeting, he said something interesting. He told me that he dated a girl, and they had a daughter together. I was a bit surprised, but I told him it was all good. He said he had a good relationship with his daughter, and we talked about the pension and school stuff. It was an easy conversation, and we even swapped Instagram handles. I saw his, and we talked about his relationship. I didn't say anything that would mess it up. I just thought it was a bit strange. I have a lot of information, and I'm happy to share. For example, I've been on Instagram for about 8 years. He said he had a good relationship and they talked about the daughter's pension and school. They had already exchanged social networks, so you had already seen his Instagram. There was something there, and I didn't think it compromised the relationship. I just thought it was strange. And no, I have a lot of information. For example, I have Instagram. I don't know how long it's been, but it's been 10 years. So it has 10 years of publication. Behind it is Antigua everything and the from him. Not then I was a little strange, but oh, I lost the account. Something like that. You had a normal relationship because you talked on WhatsApp, right? He didn't. He called me when we talked before bed. I was a little boy from Yuam's phone at first. It was a normal, stable relationship. And oh, it's been a decade since we first met. I was a little surprised at first, but I got used to it. He didn't use WhatsApp, so he called me. Before bed, we talked on the phone. He wanted something serious and he insisted on us dating. I wasn't very interested, but I agreed to it because I had just ended a relationship. Then Tristan started plotting. He even went through a piranha phase. We stayed together for a while and he told me about his daughter. He said he dated this girl for 10 years, but he wasn't sure if she was his daughter. He told me that kind of thing. He really wanted us to get together, but I wasn't looking for anything serious. I'd just gone through a one-night stand and he was kind of dismissive of that. Then he started talking about his daughter and I was like, that's interesting. He said he dated this girl for 10 years, but he wasn't sure if she was his daughter. I was like, that's strange. So I asked to see a photo and he was like, nah, I don't have any on my Instagram. I was like, that's strange, right? Any dad would love his daughter, right? So I was like, hey, you should publish these pictures of your nephew and all your other relatives. And he was like, nah, I don't have any of that. Then one beautiful day, he's at my place and he starts calling me over and over. I mentioned that I thought it was a bit odd because she didn't seem to be around him much. And then I asked to see his photos. I noticed that he didn't have any photos of his daughter on his Instagram, which I also thought was a bit strange since any father would love his daughter. I thought it would be a great idea to publish some pictures of my nephew and other family members. He didn't have any pictures either. Then on a beautiful day he called me a lot, wanting to talk. I missed talking with him. He came to my house in the first 3 days there. He spent 3 days with me. You live alone and he came to visit. I live alone but he didn't bring money. He worked and earned money for himself. He told me about his job and his family, and it seemed like he was living a stable life. So he just went to his home and stayed there. I really missed him and I told him that. He said he missed me too and that he was with his mother. I said, "Okay, you want to come?" He said he did, so I invited him over. He came to my house and spent 3 days there. The first day he slept in my bed. Sometimes when we get home, all we want is to see a big warm body in our bed. He was super affectionate. He said that it wasn't easy, that he missed me, and that he was with his mother. I said, "Okay, you want to come?" "I want to come too. I'll come to your house and we'll spend 3 days together. That's all we want when we get home. To see a big strong man lying in our bed, or to make one. And he's really good in the kitchen." It was really affectionate. Everything I wanted, Lou. My bathroom. I'm a perfect Virginian. I left the house perfectly clean. In this, he washed the bathroom, but he used sanitary water, rubbed the box, everything, and left the impeccable bathroom. I spoke in love, of course. He's the man who I asked the great God, the friendly one. He's the type of person who knows that hot person you want is close and understands about everything. I'm so happy to share that everything I wanted, Lou, my bathroom, and I are all in perfect harmony. He left my house impeccable, washed his bathroom, and rubbed the box with sanitizer. Everything was spotless. I spoke in love, of course. He's the kind of man who is friendly, but not overly friendly, so you can't help but feel a little jealous. He's a kind of man who, after 3 days, had his view lying in your bedclothes, right on the wall, in the kitchen, on the table, on the sofa. It was just love just for you. I work a lot, almost 12 hours a day. I gave myself a break. I lied to everyone, saying, he's a very friendly person, but he's not overly friendly. He's always in my home, and he's always on my phone. He's a kind man, and he's always in my bed, on my clothes, on the wall, on the table, on the sofa, and everywhere. Just so you know, I work a lot. I work almost 12 hours a day. I told everyone I was in a store, but I was lying. I was in a store, but I lied. I simply hung up the phone and went to stay with this boy. I will enjoy him, of course. I will climb him. Oh, and then we stayed together and enjoyed each other for 3 days. Then he started to stay a lot in my house. He knew he was going home, but I was always in mine. Always in my house. No, I was at a store, since I work in a few of them. I told him I was at a store, but I was actually hanging up the phone. I was going to stay with this boy, and I was really enjoying it. He did great. We spent 3 days together, and then he started staying at my place a lot. He said he was going home, but I was always at mine. No, he couldn't stay a week. At his place, he said he lived with his parents, his mom, his dad, and a brother. He said his daughter was with her mom, and the daughter was with her mom. I understood that she lived near, but not so close. I understood then to leave. Of course you were convinced that he was a single man, the single man unimpeded. He was always in mine. His phone had. No, he couldn't stay a week at his house. He said he lived with his parents, his mother, his father, and a brother. He said his daughter was with her mother and his son was with his mother. I understood that they lived near each other but not so close. I understood, of course, that he was a single man. The single man. Unimpeded. He was always in my home. His phone had no password. He registered my digital on his phone. So when he was here at home, I quietly took his phone. He took my phone, of course. I didn't stay scouring for it, though. DSAG, but it was quiet. Did not receive any kind of connection. For a couple of times, I saw the dictaphone right in the wife's hand. I didn't know her. I was a wife. I talked to him on the phone, but they were talking about his daughter. So you thought it was just the mother of his son or daughter? Yes, I think it was a scene he made, but he was talking to her. He said, "Tomorrow, I'll make the payment for your account is the pension," and spoke the name of the child. I understood, then I was sure I was the boyfriend that. I was a wife. I talked to him on the phone, but they were talking about his daughter. Oh, okay. So you thought it was just the mother of his son or daughter? Yes, until? Because I don't think today. I think that it was a scene he made, but he instead spoke to her like this. Tomorrow I make the payment for your account, the pension, and speak the name of the child. Understood. Then I was sure I was the boyfriend, that you were officially in a relationship, but he didn't want to do this for you to give the pension money. I never asked for anything, and it's not good to make it clear because there are some men who have entrances in the hair that do this kind of thing. Yes, but I was too. Why did I cling to falling in love? Of course, so I always gave him gifts. I went to work, understood I was a beast, and brought him something like this. I went to the Day of Parents, bought a gift for him on the Day of Parents, and then you sent him to him. I waited for your home sometimes, and I sent a motoboy to deliver to work because we worked until that next day. And sometimes it was in my house, right, because he was going almost every day. He was in my house a lot, and I gave him a lotion. Post Barba I'm so glad we're on the same page. I wanted to get him a gift for Father's Day, so I went to his house and he said, "No, I'm fine here. I'm always here." I told him I'd be happy to leave, but he said, "No, I'm fine. I'm always here." I even sent a motoboy to deliver a gift to his workplace because we worked until the next day. He was in my house almost every day, and I gave him a lotion called Post Barba. It's okay, things like this happen. It's worth it, so he continues to always go to your house. For example, there was once that I bought a Father's Day kit with perfume, lotion, soap, and other things. He said, "I will leave here because I'm always here, so I will leave." He had his clothes in mine and he said, "So I'm not living well with my mother. I don't want." Things like this happen sometimes, so it's all good. He used to come to your house a lot, and on one occasion I bought a Father's Day gift set with perfume, lotion, and soap for him. He said, "I'll leave here because I'm always here, so I'll leave." I had his clothes in mine and he said, "I'm not living well with my mother. I don't want to stay in the house." My mother and I thought it was time for us to take the next step. I said, "What would be there?" He said, "You want something serious with me because we are already in this. We have already been involved for months." I said, 7 months. He said, "You want something with me?" I said, "I want to know how to say no to that." He was fine with it. To stay in the house, my mother and I thought it was time for us to take the next step. I said, "What do you want?" He said, "You want something serious with me because we are already in this. We were already involved. It's been 7 months and you still sleep in my house." I said, "You want something with me?" He said, "I want to be clear. I'm okay with that." He took all his things and moved to my house to live with you. He came to my house to live with me. He brought about 3 bags of clothing, work clothes, and those boots. Everyone found it strange, but my friends were okay with it. I was super passionate and enchanted. We have to do some investigation, so don't send someone to get his CPF. Oh, you didn't investigate his social security number. I told my friend who works in a bank. He came to my house to live with me. He brought 3 bags of clothes, work clothes, and boots. Everyone was surprised, but my friends were okay with it. I was really excited and in love. I asked my friend who works at a bank to check the form. The first thing it said was what to do. You can even look up the name Jus Brazil on Google. There are processes there. You were really excited, right? He went to live with you. He said something about cracking the accounts, but I knew this moment was going to arrive. That's okay though. The first thing I told him to do was check the form. You can even search Jus Brazil on Google to find the process. It's really easy. You were enchanted, right? Super enchanted. Good, but he went to live with you. He said something about cracking the accounts, but I knew this moment was going to arrive. That's okay though. It's a paid condominium, water, rental, shopping. He came with good clothes, height, and a good sex life. He had to offer me a lot. I was super happy with it. Only that too. He started today. I can see that he could isolate me. Some people know how I did. Me. I didn't go out with my friends so much. I talked so much about the people that I liked. He already complained about the clothes that I used or the people I spoke to him. It's a paid condominium with water, shopping, and all the amenities. He was a tall, good-looking guy who made me feel good. I was very happy with it. Today I noticed that he tried to isolate me. Some people know how I did. I didn't go out with my friends as much. I talked so much about the people I liked. He already complained about the clothes I used or the people I spoke to. I wanted to create an Instagram account with him, but you had access to his social media, work, and family. So when he moved to my house a month later, we lived with him. He left his job right away. I didn't know anyone. I didn't know the mother, the father, the brother, or anyone. The people he spoke to were all religious. I really wanted to take another picture with him and post it on Instagram, but you had access to his social media accounts, including his work and family accounts. So, when he moved in with me a month later, I left my job. I didn't know anyone. I didn't know his mother, his father, his brother, or anyone he spoke to. I'm not sure if he was a Candomblé practitioner, but he was. He was learning Candomblé, and he mentioned some people on his Instagram who were very close to him. He understood, but it could continue. We stayed together and I worked at home. I told him that I would take care of a pension for him and I would solve it. I don't have money though. She is charging me. I said, how much do you want? He's a practitioner of Candomblé, a religion I'm unfamiliar with. He's teaching Bliyum, and he mentioned some acquaintances on his Instagram who were very close. I understood the situation and we stayed together. I worked at home and said, you're going to do for a pension and I'll take care of it. He said, I don't have money, she's charging. I said, how much do you pay her? He said, I pay $600. I said, I'll give you the money to help you. I lent him the money and he paid the pension. It was a beautiful day in my home with him, and we were all happy. He left to search for work and returned to prepare lunch. We're there and I see the active group of Super Condominium. He said pay there. I said, I'll pay $600 to her. He said, I'll give you the money to help you. I said, I'll lend you the money that I never saw. I lent the money and he paid the pension. I'm a beautiful day in mine, home with him, all happy. He left to search for work, returned to prepare lunch, and we were there. I saw the group of super active condominium people talking. I didn't understand what they were saying, only that when you mark the message, the notification is different. It's not clear. Peers there. Then I opened the group of condominium and I had the big surprise. I had a person at the door of my building cursing and shouting. It was his wife. The condominium group said what there was someone at the door cursing. You, a woman in the condominium group, started speaking. Jonathan, I was chatting with some people, but I didn't really catch what they were saying. Then when you came over, the notification for the message changed. It wasn't clear at first, but then I realized that there was someone at the door of my building cursing and shouting. It was her husband and he was in the condominium group. He was asking if there was someone at the door and a woman in the condominium group started speaking. She said, has something happened? Has someone you're looking for? I came to see it 20 or 30 minutes later. And she went there. She made her shack shout that I was with her husband. She called me, sculpted me, called me yours. Thunderstrunder. You know these things. You stole my husband. She started screaming and she didn't. I knew my number and she just knew the condominium is, she just knew the building and everything else she knew nothing but. I'm not sure what's going on, but I hope you're doing well. I just wanted to let you know that I was there 20 or 30 minutes later. She was there and she made a shack and shouted that I was with her husband. She called me and said, you're sculpted. You're mine. You know these things happen. She started screaming, but I knew my number. I just knew the apartment, right? She just knew the building and everything else. She knew nothing but. She spoke Jonathan. She screamed there but shouted, Jonathan, this called for him. So everyone knew that the business was with you. She left a bag in the entrance, right at the reception. I didn't understand that I was a lover because the person was eating with me, wanting to get married, saying that it was happy, and I was super happy creating a new profile on Instagram. Kaloka, no, let the woman go there in your condo all. She said her name, Jonathan, and let out a scream. She was here, she left a bag, and she spoke a lot. Everyone knew about the business and she left a bag at the entrance, right at the reception. I didn't understand that I was a lover because the person was eating with me wanting to get married saying that it was happy and I was super happy. I created a new profile on Instagram, Kaloka, but let the woman go there in your condo. Over the world warns that she is screaming Jonathan. You did not. Nothing is this. This is where I want to go. I didn't hear her shouting Yuv when I opened the door. Do WhatsApp. Condominium and saw everyone talking. Look, there's a person here shouting only that. So she already had to be what I didn't understand then when you saw the messages. She had already gone away. I had already made a shack because I was with BOF. World over reassures her that she is not screaming. Jonathan, you did not. Nothing is happening. This is where I want to go. I didn't hear her shouting you've. When I opened the door to the condo and saw everyone talking. Look, there's a person here shouting only that. So she must have already left. I didn't understand then when you saw the messages that she had already gone away. I had already made a shack because I was with BOF. I was going to stir the cell phone. I didn't even care about the cell phone. She had left a black bag at the entrance. There was a bag plate, and then I asked the man, Wessel, what was happening, and he stayed. I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's happening. I went down because they started calling me. The reception started to call me. She spoke, and then a lady came here, left a bag, and spoke a lot of things. I was about to take out my phone, but I didn't even notice the phone. She had left a black bag at the entrance, and then I asked the man Wessel what was going on. He stayed right where he was. I don't know what's going on. I didn't know what was happening. I went down because they started calling me. The receptionist started to call me. She spoke a lot of things, This all happened to me. I was notified right away because otherwise it was going to be a fine. Then I was notified and I came down to find a black garbage bag with more of his clothes and his reservist documents with a lot of things. I cut the clothes, cut the documents, and cut. I looked at him and said, so what is that? He spoke the truth. He said, you climbed with the bag in the apartment. I didn't go up. He went up with things. I was notified right away, so I went down to the scene. There was a black garbage bag with his clothes and his reservist documents. There were a lot of things cut, clothes, documents, and so on. I looked at him and said, so what happened? He spoke the truth. He said, you climbed with the bag in the apartment. I didn't go up. He went up with things. This truth happened in the apartment. It happened in front of my building. I went down as soon as I could because the man at the reception desk told me that she had left a bag. I wanted to open it, but I didn't know what was happening. I opened it, and it was a pump. I figured it could be something for you. He climbed with things, and then this truth happened in the apartment. The truth happened in front of my building. Is in front of the novel scene building because I went down as soon as I got off the elevator, and the man at the front desk told me that she had left a bag. I wanted to open it, but I didn't know what was happening. I opened it, and it was a pump. I figured I could use it for you. Harming was not it. It was torn clothes. She cut them with scissors and a knife. She took his documents, and then I started to find strange. I asked Wes what this was, and then I asked how the person who came here was doing. He spoke as he was physically, and he said her name. I asked what it was, and he told me I'm married. This is how much time we've been together in total. I was with him for almost a year or almost. Harming wasn't it? It was torn clothes. She cut them with scissors and a knife. I started to feel strange when I found his documents. I asked Wes what this was, and then I asked how the person who came here was doing. He spoke as he was physically, and he said her name. I asked what it was, and he told me I'm married. I was like, oh, so you two had been together for almost a year by then, and you've been living together for almost a year, right? He said yeah, and he did the household chores. He went out to work, and he did things at home. It was a normal life. We also played water on the floor in the kitchen, and the house was impeccable. I didn't have anything to complain about. My clothes were all folded, and he did everything. He was the perfect man. After a year of living together, how much time do you think that is? If he was 6 months old by then, that would mean he spent half a year with me. He did the household chores, and he also worked and did things at home. It was a normal life, and he was a loving partner. He even played with water on the floor and cleaned the kitchen. The house was always impeccable, and I didn't have any complaints. I folded all my clothes, and he did everything. He was the perfect man. He was already married, and he made time for me. He said, I'm married 2 hours, but wait. I don't look like I'm disturbed because like this, the man is married and gets away for months at a time. Music. Treasure has several stories here on the channel of men who lead a double life. I think it will be difficult to overcome that, but I'll explain. I was married and he said he was too. But wait, I'm not looking. I'm so confused because the man is married and away from home for months. That's where I'll be, but let me explain. Treasure has several stories on the channel of men who lead a double life. I get more shocked and more afraid because this can happen to anyone. It could happen to you too if you have lived something similar. If you want Treasure to tell a story on the channel like Jonathan is doing, go to my Instagram @RufJenner. Send a summary of the story along with your phone number. We can mark a day and an hour for me to call you. If you prefer, you can also send "I'm always amazed and a little scared by what Jonathan tells me." This could happen to anyone. If you want to share a story on my channel like Jonathan is doing, you can send a summary of your story to my Instagram @RufJenner, along with a picture of your phone. I'll call you at a time and date that works for you. You can also send an email to my friend, rs@gmail.com. I'll get back to you and we'll share your story together. Today, I want to give a big kiss to Nina DeBrusque, Santa Catarina Treasure. If you'd like me to send you a kiss, please leave a comment below with your name and city. And if you'd like to become a channel member, you can cancel at any time. If you want to pay for a month, just let me know. I'd love your help to keep creating. My email address is rs@gmail.com. I'd love to answer any questions you might have and connect you with others. If you'd like, I'd be delighted to send you a kiss. Just leave a comment below with your name and city. If you're interested in becoming a member, there's an option to cancel at any time. If you'd like to support my work, you can choose to pay a monthly fee. Your comments are greatly appreciated. I'll be sure to send some exclusive pics, a little love and heart emojis. Thank you so much, everyone. At the end, I'll share the names of the members who have helped. I know that many of you want to help bring more stories to everyone here. If you can't be a member, that's okay. You can still help by commenting and sharing. Content is the way you support the creator and each other. Your comments are so heartfelt, and I'm grateful for the love and support you've shown. Thank you, Kat. And at the end, the names of the members appear as thanks because I know that everyone who does this to help, even to help bring more stories for everyone here, is truly amazing. Sometimes I can't know for sure if you can't be a member, but you help me by commenting, sharing, and watching videos with me. You help me be here with your friendship, and that's so valuable. Let's go back. Let's go back to listening to Jonathan. I already warned you that I might laugh at some point, nervous and with respect. I was without ration right at the moment, of course, and then I asked us to go back to home because I was dizzy, disturbed, and I cried. I didn't believe that dream of being with the person I was enjoying was perfect. I'm so grateful for your help, your friendship, and your support. I'm starting to feel better, even though I was a bit nervous at first. I asked us to go back home because I was dizzy and upset. I cried and I couldn't believe that the dream of being with someone I was enjoying was over. I was devastated and I couldn't accept it. He started talking, saying that she was crazy and disturbed. She didn't accept that we ended things. I left my wedding to stay with you because he said he was married, but he had actually finished his marriage to be with me. He didn't have the courage to talk about the first moment because he fell in love with the end involved. I was really bad and I was devastated and sad. I didn't believe him and he started talking. He said she was crazy and disturbed and didn't accept that we ended things. I left my wedding to stay with you because he said he was married, but that he had finished the marriage to stay with me. He didn't have the courage to talk about the first moment because he fell in love with the end involved and ended up falling in love. I wanted to say that it was married because I imagined that I wasn't going to stay with him. At first, that's what he said, and I believed him. I believed you, then you continued, because that's what you told me. You said that someone who is married to someone is with me, living in my house. If it's been months, then as you don't want to know how I feel, I wondered. Then she left and he told me this story. I started to receive Instagram and Facebook messages. I'm trying to explain that I thought we were just friends at first, but then I started to feel like maybe he was married. I thought I believed you, but then you said you were married and living with me, so I believed you. You said that if we were both married, we would be living together, and if we'd been together for a while, you would have left your husband. Then she left and he told me this story. I started getting requests from a woman I didn't know. He didn't know her real name, but he said her name was another name. He said she was physically different, and then I started getting requests. I accepted and she started talking. She said she was Wesley's wife and told the whole story. Every time he spoke, he said he was going to work, but he didn't. He went to her house and he was with her. He told another story. I met a woman who was a bit mysterious. She didn't know his real name and he didn't know hers. He spoke about her in the third person and she was physically present. I started to receive requests and I accepted. She began to talk, saying, I am Wesley's wife, and I will tell you the whole story. Every time he spoke, he said he was going to work, but he wasn't. He went to her house and he spoke to her. He told her another story. He said he was living with a friend whose marriage was not good, and he was taking a while, but he had a relationship with her. He stayed with her, and he deceived me. He was unemployed, but he was leaning against you. He must have some money. He should buy rice, but he never bought anything. I did nothing. Nothing. So he said. I continue paying all the accounts in my home and living as I always lived. He only gave to her. He said he was living with a friend, but they weren't married. He said he was taking things one step at a time, but he was in a relationship with her. He stayed with her, but was he deceiving me? He said he was unemployed, but he was leaning against me. He must have some money. He should buy rice, but he never bought anything. I did everything. Nothing. So he said I continue paying all the accounts in my home and living as I always did. He only gave me sticks and water. The water cleaned the perfectly good house. At least that. But then from what I understood he took. He went to his own house with his wife, his house, and then she started telling me all the stories. Then I started to discover who he was. With me he was a smiling, quiet party. With her, he was the man, evangelical, married, remembering that his religion was candomblé. He told me he was from candomblé. With her was our church. He was a very kind and generous man. He was a devout member of the church and had an active social life there. His mother didn't know about his past and she ended up telling me about it. We ended up talking a lot because I was very educated and understanding. She told me that he had already been involved with a man for 2 years and that man had stayed with him. Oh yes, they were active in the church. They had a vibrant social life there. His mother wasn't aware of this, and she had already confided in me. We ended up talking for a long time because I was very knowledgeable about the subject. She told me that I wasn't the first person he had been involved with. He had already been with a man for 2 years, and he had been married to that man. They also stayed with him, not to mention he was married without that. I had already told someone that I had fallen into a trap, and the woman accepted that. That's good to see. Then she said he had said that was the devil's work. Those fanatical people who are so devoted to religion. I know that everything was blamed on her. She liked him, yes, she liked him, but I think she was more with him because of her belief that God was alive. A new person knows, and then I said, look at him. He showed your messages talking about that. He told me the same thing. I had already mentioned that I fell into a trap, right, and the woman accepted that. That's good. Then she said he had said that was the devil's work. Those fanatical people who are so into religion. I know that everything was to blame in her. She liked him, yes, she liked him, but I think she was more with him because of her belief that God was in it for her. A new person knows, and then I said, look at him showing your messages talking about the pension. Then she took her cell phone and started sending me printouts of the history. She said it was because he showed her what he wanted to show me from the conversation, and she showed the real conversation. What had to happen, right? What they had talked about in the whole message, but in this conversation, she was being educated. Yes. At first, she was not educated. She was very thick. She insisted a lot to talk to me. CTI got her number at work and she started calling there. She was really nice and kind and she was really open with me. She told me everything, even the hard stuff. She told me about the conversation she had with him, and it was really helpful. At first, she was a bit shy, but she got used to it. She got my work number and started calling me there. She knew my name and my Instagram, and she even got my phone number. But she didn't know that he was with someone else. She had already been with the guy, and she didn't think it was a problem. I told her, hey, let's meet. She was like, okay, I know you're his ex-wife, and I won't talk to you. But I said, no, I want to talk to you. She knew my name and my Instagram, and she had my phone number, but she didn't. I had to know that he was with another woman. It wasn't a question for her because she had already been with the guy. First, she was a bit distant. I said, hey, let's meet up. She was like, oh, I know you're his ex-wife and I won't talk to you. I was like, okay, but I want to talk to you and I'll be nice. So I gave her my number and said, at my lunch break, I'll call you and we can talk. I took her number and called her. When you had this conversation, he was still living with you. He was at my house without knowing I was talking to him. I didn't mean to steal anything from you, and I didn't get anything. You didn't get anything, and he wasn't very honest about this. You got home so that day knowing that in fact he wasn't. I said, hey, I totally get it. I'm just trying to understand what's going on here. So on the first day, she shared some details about her home, and I went to my place to give her a tour. She said, I always talk to him by advertising. I said, is she? She said, I believe it is in your apartment. I said, yes, she spoke so. Oh, and your room has a well large with a lion, then. I said it has it. She spoke, so he sent me to her. He knew details about my house that she had believed were from a friend's house. He was dividing the delivery because he wanted a moment alone. I understood, and then she found out that he had 3 Instagram accounts. He is the shoulder of the church, married to her perfect Vita. There is social intact. I said it has it, so he already sent me to me. I already talked to him, and he's in your room. He knows details like this from my house that she, until then, believed was the house of a friend. He was dividing the delivery because he wanted a moment alone. I understood, and then she found out that he wasn't her friend because he had 3 Instagram accounts. He's the shoulder of the church that is married to her perfect Vita. There's no social media intact. He was doing God, doing preaching in the church, talking to pastors, talking about the day of worship and everything else. He had an Instagram account when we knew it was an account that didn't have any kind of information. He said it was deactivated, and the Instagram he made when he was living in my house. Why? Because he wanted me to exclude mine. I didn't exclude mine, but he created one and put that there. He assumed he was dating me, and he was doing God's work, preaching, and talking to pastors about the day of worship and everything else. He had an Instagram account, but it didn't have any information. He deactivated it and created a new one when he was living in my house. He wanted me to have my own Instagram account, so I created one. He assumed he was dating me, and he had a picture of us together. There were people in my house, friends we had met, and friends in common. He recreated a new life, and she discovered the Instagram account. She started looking for him and calling him, but he wasn't answering. She searched for him on Instagram and saw that there were 2 new profiles with his name. She clicked on one of them and saw my picture with him. He said that I loved him and that I would never leave him. I had a picture of him with me, and I was thinking, how could this be? There were people in my house, friends we had met, and friends in common. He recreated a new life, and she saw this Instagram account. That's how she discovered him. She started looking for L and calling him, not attending. She searched him on Instagram and saw that there were 2 new profiles with his name. She clicked on one and saw my picture with him, and he was saying that I loved him and that I would never leave him. Then, wait, beyond everything, he created an Instagram account with his own name, and it wasn't private. Yes, not. It wasn't. She saw all the statements he had marked me in the publications. She told me about the dates, times, things that happened, and really beat me up. I believed it. I came home and said, I won't say anything like that. I will give you the password of his cell phone. So I went there and I was so worried about Wesley, so I started looking into his phone. I found all the numbers from his phone and I called them. I asked them if they knew Wesley. They said he was with a man and they didn't know about it. I said, I want to tell the world because he had his social life and no one knew. I didn't know he was with a man, and she wasn't going to tell anyone. If she accepted the first time and I was talking to her, she was also going to receive Ellen home as if nothing had happened. I wanted to get revenge, and then I wanted to do my revenge. I took some. I wanted to tell you all about the contacts of his mother, his father, and his father's brother. He had his social life and no one knew. I didn't know he was with a man, and she wasn't going to tell anyone. If she accepted the first time and I was talking to her, she was also going to receive Ellen her home as if nothing had happened. I wanted to get my revenge, and then I wanted to do my revenge. I took some numbers from his phone and asked Wesley. I talked to so-and-so who told me that, and I believe in her. He was silent. He didn't have something to say. He started trying to create stories, and I started debating. He said it was Evie that was candomblé. Is it here, or are you in the church? I started showing his Instagram because I also researched. You am right? His Instagram. I started to show it, and the people got bad during the night. He went to I asked Wesley about the numbers from his phone, and he told me that so-and-so had mentioned something about that. I believe her. He didn't say much. He didn't have anything to say. He started making up stories, so I started debating with him. You said it was EV and that candomble is here. Or are you in the church? I showed him my Instagram because I also researched UM. He was kind of nervous and he went to sleep on the couch. I was a little worried because I didn't know what was going to happen. He reacted badly. He was discredited, upset, and angry. He shouted that it was a lie and that she wanted to separate us. You am right? He slept in the room and I slept in my room. The other day I was at work. I had spoken to him when I left home. I sent a message saying it was to him to tell me that I was a little worried about sleeping on the couch in my bed, because I wasn't sure what would happen. I was worried that he would react badly, and he did. He was upset, angry, and shouted that she wanted to separate us and everything. You am right? He slept in the room I slept in. The other day I was at work, and I had spoken to him. So when I left home, I sent a message saying that I wanted to talk to him about the truth. I wanted to solve this situation because it wasn't possible to stay, and from that moment, he would pay all the house accounts, including the water, the condo, and the energy. He stopped paying because he was talking to True. He was going to pay all the accounts that month. I did. I got home at 3 p.m., and the door was only on the latch. He had gone, although he took everything from me. His clothes, his suitcase, all his things. The same way he came, he left. I'm here to help you solve this situation. The truth is, it wasn't possible for him to stay, and from that moment on, he stopped paying the house accounts, the water, the condo, and the energy. He was working and was going to pay all the accounts that month. I got home at 3 p.m. and found the door only on the latch. He had gone, although he took everything with him, his clothes, his suitcase, and all his other things. He left the same way he came. He simply took everything he could and went to his house, her house. Right and true. Then I called her. She said. I got home and I confronted him. He talked to him, and he said it was a lie, but he was. She spoke and he told me he bought a new chip. He called her and said he was going home, but he had to talk to her in roofs. You will stay. Now he feels She called me at night and came to try to propose to me and him for you. He just took off and then he came back to his house. I called her and she said, I'm home. So I confronted him and he said it was a lie, but he was. He said he wanted to buy a new chip, so he called her and said he was going home. He said I had to talk to her and Rufus. Now he feels like she called me at night and came to try to propose to me. He said he liked me, but I liked her, and she's so __ that she accepted. Then she proposed to you. She called me and started saying she was you remember him, right? You're tall, beautiful, and charming. You're not to play. You were educated with me. I regretted it. I was talking to Wesley and he likes you. If we stay the three of us, I have him, but then you would have to kiss her. I was thinking about making a pine ham. He said he liked me, but I liked her. She's a bit __, but she accepted this and then she proposed. She called me and started. She said, you remember him, right? You are tall, beautiful, charming, and not too outgoing. You were educated with me. I regretted it. I was talking to Wesley and he likes you. What if we stay the three of us? I have him, but then you would have to kiss her. I wanted me. She wanted me to go out on my own. She had everything planned. It came with a proposal already. I wanted me to leave if my apartment would live with them in the house. They don't have to kiss to make love. Love all without words. I also RF at the time when I remember. I fell into this, how I believed in everyone and how I was still attentive, educated with her. But then you answered what time she did to you that I don't. I wanted to know if I was active or passive. She had everything planned. She had already made a proposal. I wanted to leave my apartment and live with them in the house. They didn't need to kiss to make love. Love is all without words. I also remembered that I fell into this. I believed in everyone and was still attentive and educated with her. Then you answered the phone. I didn't answer. I just hung up. The mother called me the next 2 days to know what had happened because he wasn't doing well. He said I was a friend. I had left my number there as a friend and his mother called me. I told her the same day. His brother called me when I called him. He didn't ask any questions. This was the whole family. Everyone was evangelical. His brother, mother, and everyone else had started like I didn't answer the phone. I just hung up. The mother called me the next 2 days to ask what had happened because he wasn't doing well. She said I was a friend and that he had left my number for me. His brother called me and I told him the same day. His brother, who is also my friend, called his brother when I called. No questions like this. Everyone in the family was evangelical, including his brother. Everyone and his brother has started like that. All Alia, I am Wesley brother my. My name is Andre. I wanted to know if Wesley was passive or active. He asked me if I was that kind of person. It was the first question that his brother asked. If his brother wants to know, I will also want to know. Was he active? He was totally active, but drinking was a liability. No, I don't say I said that was active. I said I blocked everyone. I had to leave my building because I got a lot of shame. I had to change, right? I had to change myself today. I live next to this day when I see someone on the street, some old neighbor, and I shake my head. I was known as a lover in this story, right? They kept making me mark today. What I know is that after he left my house, To my dear friend, I don't mean to cause any drama, but I did block everyone. I had to leave my building because I felt so ashamed. I had to make a change, you know? Today, I live with this feeling, and when I see someone on the street, a neighbor from years ago, I shake my head. I was known as a lover in this story, right? They kept making me mark today. What I know is that after he left my house, he came home right on time. He stayed at Casa del Hoji with the man, and he lived the same life as I did with me. I don't know if it's a blow, but after we ended things, I saw him with the 3 boys. And from time to time, I see requests on Facebook, not of friendship, but you know, those messages that arrive for you. I know the person is not your friend. He came home right on time and he stayed at Casa del Hoyo with the man. He lived the same life as I did when I lived with him. I don't know if it's a problem, but after we ended things, I saw him with the 3 boys. I also occasionally see him on Facebook, not as a friend, but as someone who sends messages. I know the person is not your friend, but you're trying to talk to him. I know you have to authorize this. Then I'll go there, accept the profile, and then delete the block. He has this custom of getting involved with guys to get into their house, be banked by guys, and have the wife know everything. Today, I don't know if they are married, if he lives the same way, or if he does the same things. I know you're trying to talk to me. I always have to authorize these messages and then I'll go there. I accept the profile and then I delete the block. He has this custom of getting involved with guys to get into their houses and be banked by guys, and the wife knows everything. Today, I don't know if they are married, if he lives the same way, or if he does the same things. He wants to stay here and stay there, but I believe he does. Then everyone perceives their heads with 2 meters high, that knows cooking, that cleans the house. You know, clean a house like no one else in bank. I understand. Rough, this whole story is that the truth always existed. My friends have always spoken that something was happening, but I don't know if it was necessary. I'm not sure if I should stay here or there. But I do know that everyone's heads are bowed with 2-meter-tall figures who know how to cook and clean the house like nobody's business. I understand. Rough, I understand that this whole story is that the truth always comes out. My friends have always told me that something was happening, but I don't know if it was because I was sad. I made mistakes because I could have done some research on him. I could have checked his Instagram. How many profiles did he have? People always ask questions when they talk to someone new. They ask if the person has the Antoninha connected, and I didn't do these silly searches. I was really in a weak moment. I made some mistakes in my life because I could have done some research on him. I could have checked his Instagram. How many profiles did he have? People do this all the time. If we are talking to someone new, we ask each other on Instagram. If the person says they don't have it, we ask if they have the Antoninha. It's a silly thing to do, but I was really in a weak moment at the time. He said the right things. I wanted to listen to them. At that moment I left and he wasn't afraid of you. He wasn't afraid of you, and he tried to contact you when he left. I blocked him. As his brother, the whole family was on top of me. I wasn't very afraid of him. I was more afraid of her because she insisted a lot on us finding each other. At the time, I was in a state of confusion. I wanted to listen to him, but I was afraid. I left and he tried to contact me, but I blocked him. I was not very afraid of him, but I was afraid of her. She insisted that we stay together, and I started to feel strange. I thought, is she really with me, or is this a weapon to kill me? After you blocked him, he sought you out. After I returned him, he left to go to his house. He just called me to try to be with me and with him because he said he was happier when I was dating him. But then he saw that I wasn't going to answer. I felt a bit uneasy, wondering if she wanted to stay with me, or if it was some kind of ploy to hurt me. After you blocked me, she didn't bother you anymore. She just called me to try to be with me and him because she said he was happier when I was dating him. But then she saw that I wasn't going to answer, so she thought I was crazy. Anyone who discovered that a person could be betrayed twice by the same man would think that the husband is either gay or bisexual. But she didn't believe that. She thought it was just a phase that he was going through, that it was the devil entering his life. She believed in this wholeheartedly. She wanted to take him to church and invited me to go with her. It was also the most random invitations. Make a trial and go to church. Jonathan, I'll tell you something. So many friends that I already talked to, mainly church friends who know this life very well. They really believe it because they're made to believe it. They're not muggles, they're not silly. They know that the guys are so manipulative that they manage to blame the devil. So, I'll tell you one thing. If she hadn't come to my house and humiliated me so much, Jonathan, I'll tell you something. I've talked to so many friends, especially church friends, who only know this life. They really believe it because they've been made to believe it. They're not muggles, they're not silly. They're so manipulative that they blame the devil. So I'll tell you one thing, if she hadn't come to my house and humiliated me so much, I would have gone to work after and returned home, and everyone would have looked at me strangely. Everyone knew the story. I knew I was a bastard who took the married guy to my home. This was my fame, and then with the building full of straight people, I didn't go to the pool or the leisure center. Ashji went through me. I was going to work after that, but I came back to my house and I felt really embarrassed because everyone looked at me strangely. I knew why everyone I knew looked at me that way. It was a who I took home with me. This was my fame, and then with the building full of straight people, I didn't go to the pool or the leisure center. Ashji went through me, laughing and judging me, and I stayed there with my face on the floor, my past discredited. I don't even blame her because if she hadn't gone there and done this, I never would have learned from that history. I learned that Ajit can't take our happiness and give it to someone else. I know that I was in a sad moment of my life, in a moment of need, but I think I'm just trying to understand how I can be so in love with someone, and yet they don't seem to love me back. I know I have to be loving a lot, but it's hard to wake up and look at all the days and know that you are the owner of your life. I'm trying to remember that Ruff never gave me anything and he never helped me financially. He was never the one who arrived together in relation to nothing. He made the basic things and I thought he was a god. I thought that I would be happy and that I was being happy. But this is not the reality. I never depended on anything, right? I've learned so much from you, my friend. I've learned to value myself and my own journey. I've learned that true love is about being independent and self-sufficient. It's about being confident and independent. I've learned that when we're in a relationship, it's important to take the time to get to know someone before we commit. Otherwise, we might end up in a situation where we're not fully happy. I've learned that when we're in love, it's natural to feel a sense of uncertainty and to feel like we might not have all the answers. From man to nothing, today I know that I'm a strong guy, a conquering worker, and I can have anyone I want, but I can't get my happiness, my life, and put it in the hands of someone else. We have to be happy alone, and when we meet someone we have to pay more attention and do our research. Otherwise, it's not always love, and he always left many loose strands. I didn't get any. Thank you, Ruffs, for the space. I listened to your stories. I always clean the apartment and now I don't have to clean it up. Cleaning the apartment makes me hear your stories, and I play them loudly for my neighbors to hear. Also, thanks for the stories, thanks for the tips. I'm your fan guy there. Thank you, thanks for sharing this completely absurd story that looks like a series of Globo. Yes, Globo play right, you know. I just want to say a heartfelt thank you to you and the others for the space. I really appreciate it. I always listen to your stories, and they're so interesting. They make me feel like I'm right there with you, even though I'm listening from the other side of the apartment. When I clean, I love listening to your stories, and I'm sure the neighbors are enjoying the noise too. I just want to say a big thank you for sharing your stories with me. I'm your biggest fan and I'm so grateful for your tips. I'm a big fan of that completely absurd Globo soap opera. The women in it are in love with Aloy and I was crazy about him. I love that soap opera, even though she painted her clothes with her husband's paint. I didn't know that today, but I'm glad I found out. Everything she cut, all the clothes and everything he never worked. A lot of time placed, so she cut the clothes that were hers. She always paid, she always played his life.